third time's a charm. I've tried recording this 3 different times now, so we're doing it. Hello everyone. It's been a while. I know, it's been almost 2 years now. I've gotten married in that time. I've shaved my eyebrows. Why? Because I think this looks cute and it's just easier to deal with. And I also gained a little bit of weight, and I also quit my previous job. There's been a lot of changes. In short, there's been a lot of changes. So, anywho, hello, I'm here. I will try to be a little bit more often. I'm a creature of inspiration, so I kind of go where inspiration guides me, and if I'm not in the mood to make a video, then I'm not going to make that video. I'm not going to force myself to do it. I don't do things for the money. I don't make money off of YouTube. I don't make money off of Twitch. Hopefully I'll get to streaming again eventually. I'll, do things because I want to be popular. I don't really think any of the things that I do make me popular, but okay. And yeah, I kind of wanted to get some things off of my chest and talk about original characters for the next, hopefully, couple of weeks, hopefully the next couple of months, just depending on how things go. We'll be talking about fursonas, we'll be talking about ponysonas, talking about, my old Club Penguin character and my Wizard 101 character, because my Wiz character actually has some backstory to her. Talking about my Fallout OC as well. Maybe Dungeons and Dragons. I might talk about her for a little bit. But yeah, so today, the topic of the day is furries. I know I'm going to be isolating a few people with that. I'm very sorry. I personally enjoy being in the furry fandom. I was in the brony fandom for a long time, near the same time that I had started being in the furry fandom. However, during that time, I decided to be more so a brony than a furry, due to a lot of bullying and stuff. People, kids especially, because I was a kid during this time, are very mean. They're very mean-spirited, especially when it comes to furries. And a lot of it comes from a place of misunderstanding, misinformation, a lot of different things. The best description for the furry community that I've heard anybody say is that furry is an art movement. And that just, like, my brain literally expanded from that. I was like, whoa. Even I didn't think of it that way, and, I've been in and out of the community for years. But it is an art movement, the suit makers that are out there, they put a lot of time and dedication into what they do, and the artists that are out there put a lot of time and dedication into what they do. Even things like furry conventions and stuff, that takes marketing, it takes, connections and things like that too. It takes a lot of effort from volunteers and staff to make a furry convention possible. I don't know, furry has an interesting history. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube where you can look it up. I also recommend Curtis Connor's video. If you haven't seen it, if you're a non-furry and you haven't seen it, it's a very insightful kind of look into furries from the view of someone who's a non-furry. And I really enjoyed it, and I like Curtis Connor's content, so I highly recommend looking into it if you're interested. If not, it's okay. totally get it. So where do I land in the throes of furry history? Well, you see, it all started when I was in middle school. A magical land called middle school. And, I don't know if you've ever been in a middle school, but it kind of sucks. Everybody's, like, growing up. You're still learning things about your world and the people around you. Your hormones are just all over the place, and you're breaking out in pimples, and you feel bad about it. You start feeling bad about yourself. It's not fun. It's not fun. And I certainly did not have the best experience in middle school out there. I actually had a really hard time. I was bullied a lot. I was called a lot of different names. I got into a lot of trouble. And not necessarily like, oh, because my parents are strict and they won't let me. But like the kind of trouble of like, oh, my parents are super loose about rules and aren't paying attention to things that could hurt me. I won't go into the details and the nitty-gritty of those things. I'll save that for another video. In fact, another one of these videos, because it is a very big part of, unfortunately, my time with the brony fandom, and why I'm not necessarily a brony anymore. But we won't get into that today, because we're talking about furries and why I'm in the furry fandom. Around the same time that I got into the brony fandom, I had started a DeviantArt account, and I had seen pictures of like anthropomorphic characters and stuff like that. I also thought anthros were really cool before that. Like Robin Hood, I thought was like an amazing cartoon. It's one of my favorites to watch. I don't think that was like the main thing though that got me into furry. I'm trying to think, what really was it that got me to wanting to do that? I think it might have been, and this is a crazy like connection, but it might have been American McGee's Alice. When I was a little kid, and even now as an adult, Alice in Wonderland has always been one of my favorite pieces of children's media out there. Do I support Lewis Carroll at all? No. He was a very strange man, very weird in a bad way kind of guy. But Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite pieces of media out there, and one of the reasons for it is because every interpretation of Alice in Wonderland is not like Alice in Wonderland. But I digress. American McGee's Alice is one of my favorite video games that I haven't played. There's a whole list of those. And the Cheshire Cat in particular, and the way that the March Hare also is depicted, and the Jabberwocky too. Jabberwocky looks really cool. I think were the little starts of me getting into all that. And you're probably wondering, how does a little kid get into American McGee's Alice? Well, my grandmother had cable a long time ago, and I was scrolling through her like cable channels, and there was this thing where you could see a trailer, like trailers for upcoming games, and I think Madness Returns at that time was coming out, and there was a trailer for it. It creeped me out, but it made me curious too. I was like, that's really cool, but scary, and I don't like it, but I do like it. It's really neat. And it was like this big circle of, I don't like it, but I'm curious, but I do like it, but I don't like it, but a lot of buts. And so that's kind of how I had gotten into American McGee's Alice. I do think some other components, though, that got me into furry were like things like Toontown, maybe. I did play a little bit of Toontown before it closed down, and before I had known anything about Toontown Rewritten. In fact, you know what? I ought to stream Toontown Rewritten. Anyways, that's another topic for another day. I have no clue how I really got into it, but I do think American McGee's Alice had a part in it. Because before I had drawn any of my first Fursona's art, I had drawn Cheshire Cat. I'll have to look for that picture somewhere. I think I still have it. Or my mom might still have it. I'm not too sure. But anyways, my first Fursona was a sparkle cat named Laura Deladonna. And I've since then redrawn her. Her design's so cool, but it would be so hard to suit. I was like really into like big hairstyles when I was a kid. I always thought that it looked cool. Like the 60s type, not beehive where it goes straight up, but it goes up and then down and swoops out. I always thought those kinds of hairstyles were cute, and they are really cute. I really enjoy them. I think they're adorable. And so when I was making Deladonna, I wanted her to have big hair. And then I wanted her to like dress all like punk and stuff. So I was also really into gorillas at the time. She has, oh my gosh, I just realized that's another OC I've got to talk about. I don't know if I want to talk about them. That's the only one that I don't know if I want to talk about them or not. I have a gorillas OC as well. We'll see if I make that video or not. But anyways, I digress. I was really into gorillas in the time. So she wore like this varsity sweater almost with like the G pattern patched on. But she was my first ever design. I tried to dress up as her for Halloween. I had my sister do makeup, and I think I got my mom to make ears. Like we had basically gotten 2 sets of like one set pink, one set blue, and then like got them and put them in my hair and stuff, and it was really fun. It was raining that night, if I recall correctly. I'm gonna have to ask my mom about it, because the details are super, super fuzzy. Moving on from Laura Deladonna, she had only lasted a short time, I think because when I had shown her off to a few people, her and a series of like other furry characters that were not my Fursona, called the Animants, that were all based off of like music genres and things like that. Like there was a dove that was based off of punk rock, there was a dog based off of Britpop, there was also another dog based off of grunge, things like that. Like whenever I would show them off to other people versus whenever I would show off my pony art to other people would, like kids in particular, not like grown adults, kids would just get really mean about it and be like, oh, that's cringe, you're a furry? That's so cringe. I can't believe you're a furry. That's stupid. You're stupid. And then if I would show off like my gorillas fan art or my little pony OCs and stuff, they'd be like, oh, that's neat, oh, that's cool. You couldn't win. You couldn't win, because like even when they would be like, oh, that's neat, that's cool, like you could tell it was like a ew, I'm gonna laugh at this later with my girlfriends type stuff. And the people that did genuinely like my art and stuff, like they they were a lot to deal with. They were a lot to deal with at the time. But there were just like a couple other people within that group that would just be a lot about that art and be like, oh my god, it's so cool, it's so good, oh my god, and I'm just like, calm down please, it's not as good as you think it is. I was making Gorillas fan art, I was making My Little Pony fan art, and I was also making furry art. And my furry art started to kind of take the back burner because people started to hate it. And when people started hating on things when I was a kid, I would take that internally of like, oh, well then I shouldn't do this. And that's not always the case. If someone's hating on you for making art that you find fun and that doesn't hurt anybody else, what anyone says about it, that's them. Draw what you love, draw what you appreciate, make the art that makes you feel nice, feel heard, feel loved, you know? But I was a kid. I didn't really understand those things. And so I was just like, oh, well, I guess I won't make this art anymore. And then Zootopia came out. And I was all over it. I got multiple toys of the characters, like the little figurines that you could find at Walmart and stuff. I have a plushie of Judy Hopps somewhere. And I got that from the parks themselves when I had gone to the parks a couple of years later. And I really loved the movie. It's so good. It's such a good movie. And Shakira looks great as a gazelle. She looks good either way, but she looks great as a gazelle. I loved that entire story. And even the references in it too, like the otter being named Emmett is based off of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which is a piece of Jim Henson media that my parents and I used to watch every year for Christmas. Like, I loved it. I loved it so much. My parents loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. And so I started making more furry art. However, I did it with the intention to use it for a YouTube channel. Like a mascot. I wanted to make a YouTube mascot. And that's where the term Wonder Boful comes from. So if you've ever been like, oh, I wonder why she's called Wonder Boful and stuff, it's because it's the name of my mascot OC, or my mascot fursona, Wonder Boful, who's a party pig, and she's based off of basically like Party Rock. I made her a pig because at the time I kind of associated myself with it. I've always associated myself more with like farm animals a little bit, like sheep in particular over the years, and even like, I mean, heck, Laura Deldana could be, taken for a domestic cat. Which are often on farms to deter mice and stuff like that. And I considered myself the black sheep of the family because if you ever get the chance to meet my family, you'll notice that I'm a little bit different from them. I kind of stand out a little bit from them, but I'm still very much like them, And so with that thinking, I had thought it over and I was like, oh, I think I'm more resembled by a pig. In hindsight, I feel like a little bit of that is because of lack of body confidence and seeing, this round character be confident in themselves and go to parties and hang out and have fun made me feel better about myself. I think a little bit of it was definitely like projecting a lot of my woes during that time of being called fat and ugly to a character that, is a little bit round around the edges, but she's pretty. She was a really cute character. She had kind of the shutter shades that were popular back in the 2010s. She'd always wear like neon shirts and neon glasses and things like that, and I don't know, I always wanted to have like a ton of parties when I was a kid, like my sister did. She went to a ton of parties as a teenager. Looking back on it, I'm kind of glad that I did it. I'm kind of glad that I didn't, go to a lot of parties and stuff, but I always wanted to hold a lot of parties, and every time I'd hold parties, not a lot of people would show up, and I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the culture in the particular school that I went to. A lot of them were a lot of trouble. And I'm pretty certain a lot of them went to like college type parties where you're getting drunk and you're getting lit and high and you're going against your parents' curfew and stuff like that. I didn't want parties like that. When I was a kid, I wanted to just kind of hang out and watch movies and like do coloring books and things like that and go out places, but I don't know. It frustrated me. Again, another way of airing out my frustrations and just being like, here's this character that gets to do the things that I don't. It's sad. I've had so many sad moments as a kid. It wasn't all sad. I mean, there were a lot of moments that I had fun with, but I digress. That's where Wonder Bofel comes from. That's who Wonder Bofel was. And after I had created that character, there was a moment in time where I had kind of stopped. Like, making that character or drawing that character. I just kind of moved on. And so, for a while, I kind of stayed out of the furry community. I kept hearing people talk bad about the furry community. I heard it more often, actually, as I went into high school. Because of people being like, oh, well, furry's a kink. They're all kinky. They're all wearing their fursuits and getting them gross, being gross. Furries are gross. Because a lot of people were saying stuff like that during that time, and because of some of the stuff that I had seen, I was like, oh, well, 2 + 2 = 4, so I guess that matches up. And like, that is one part of the entire fandom. The rest of the fandom, they just kind of do their own thing. Like, the furry community is so large, trying to control something like that, or trying to regulate something like that, it's hard to do. And in some cases, you can't do it. The best thing that you can do is, like, mark your account as either SFW or NSFW, or a mixture of both. And if minors are allowed or not on your Safe for Work profile. It is a part of the community. There is no lie there. It is a part of the community. But it's not the main focus of the community. And I think that's what people are stuck at. I really enjoy making furry art. I think it's fun. I like drawing anthropomorphic characters. That's the reason why I joined. I think it's fun. I like expressing myself through an animal character, rather than through another human character. I have so many human characters that I express myself through. And having one there to just be like, this is who I am. This is how I act. This is just the things that I'm interested in and the way of life that I've chose. It's a lot of fun. That's why I do it. That's why a lot of other people are furries too, is because it's fun. It's fun to dress up and be something that you're not physically, It's fun to express yourself and your artistic abilities and your style through, like, different characters and things like that, through animals. I mean, we've been doing this since Aesop's Fables. It's just fun to draw and to create and to make these little mini worlds and stuff. So, speaking of, we have finally gotten to Whiskey Sour. And that is my current fursona. She's like a little red sheep. She's tan in color, but she has like red hair that's supposed to be like red wool, essentially. I like her. I like her design. It's so fun. It's so cute. A lot of her style is based off of like Japanese roku styles. She's cute. She is so cute. I love her. I want to get a fursuit made of her so bad, but the only thing is it's probably going to be like, it's gotta be like closer to like a skin suit, like a morph suit type thing, because she wears clothes on top of her, and it's gonna be really sweaty. Either way, I'm saving up money to get a fursuit head of her, because she's just so cute. She's just so cute. Her face style is based off of kimono furry styles, in particular those of the more like rounded humanoid mask type styles that you see occasionally. You'll see them like with Me Monster or with Doki Doki fursuits. And what's very unfortunate about doing that is that kimono is not particularly, like, kimono furry is not particularly found often in Western furry fandom. It's more common like out in places like China or Japan. It's just really hard to find a local kimono fursuit maker that will do that particular like humanoid style, especially. You can find a Western kimono fursuit makers like Kimono Cappy. Their suits are so good, and it's a married couple. They're so cute. But yeah, their suits are so good. But their specific style is more of like the more animalish style rather than the more humanoid. So I'm just like, way. It would be cute to see how they would make Whiskey though, but I digress. Now we're at Whiskey, so what's the lore? I have just simple lore. I haven't drawn out like the places or like the main hub of where they live in. Well, I say they because Laura Deladonna, Wonder Bofel, and Whiskey Sour all three live in the same place known as Fruitiger, the city of Fruitiger. And for those of you who are interested in aesthetics and things like that over the past year, that probably rings a bell. Yes, it is named after the aesthetic. There are three main districts, that being Fruitiger Central. It's like their judicial district. It holds most of the like central, town square type stuff. And then you have from Fruitiger Central, you have Fruitiger Metro, which is the Metro district. It holds all of the kind of like high city life. You've got skyscrapers, there's like large like outdoor malls and stuff like that. There's like a ton of tech shops and like little coffee bars for people to create with. And then at night, there's a bunch of nightclubs. They're like underneath the coffee bars, based very much around Fruitiger Metro styles, as well as kind of Japanese house culture and rave culture in general. There's a subway system and everything. Between all of the parts of Fruitiger, by the way, there's an entire subway system. However, the system isn't fully connected to Fruitiger Aero, the Aero district, which is more rural, has a lot more livestock and stuff like that, because this is kind of the weird like Pluto and Goofy contradiction. I may make the animals in that area more fantastic, though, like more fantasy based. Since most of the people in the city of Fruitiger are based off of like real life animals. So we'll see what I do with that. The Arrow District is also known for its like flat lands and vast plains, which are known as the Arrow Plains. It's such a dad joke. I love it. And then there's 2 other districts that I haven't really figured out yet, but I digress. Whiskey comes from the Arrow District. Laura Belladonna comes from and spends time mostly in the Metro District. And then Wonder Beautiful spends time mostly in the Arrow District, but will occasionally hop over to the Metro District for partying and other things, for socializing. There is a mall in the Arrow District. It's a little bit abandoned, and that is on purpose. The Metro District has a mall as well, but it's outdoors, and it's like they have like indoor-outdoor parts and stuff where you can kind of go in and out, and it's really fancy. But the Arrow District, they just have the small mall that's good for hanging out and stuff like that, but pretty abandoned. That's it. Those are all my furry characters. That's where they live. That's kind of the story behind them. I mean, well, the story behind Whiskey is that she was raised by wolves. She was born by them too. Just kind of there. I like to think that they did DNA tests and stuff and were like, yeah, these are yours. These are both of yours. They're like, there's no chance. She's a sheep. She's not a wolf. Yeah, she's yours. I don't really have details about like Wonder or Laura's family, and I really am thinking about changing Laura Belladonna's name. It's such a mouthful, and it's just like I don't personally like it, and I don't think it fits her like new design especially. So I'm changing her name. You might be wondering, there's one more, right? There's one more character that you haven't talked about yet. And you're right, if you followed me on Bluesky. But you're right. And that's my husband's character. And his name is Phantom Psalms. Which, if you have been in the like vaporwave and aesthetic community for a while, you'll know that will ring a bell to you. And that's because his character is named after an album by the vaporwave artist Begotten. And his whole color scheme, too, is based around that entire album. I had listened to that album about 5 times while making his character, just to make sure that I had gotten everything right. I wanted to make sure I got everything right before, like, releasing him and stuff. Those are all of my personas and my husband's character too. He has told me explicitly that he would only want to use that character for like VTuber stuff, just because he doesn't feel comfortable showing his face and everything. I'm like, but you're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's like 13th year. But yeah, that's all I've got to say about all that. You know, to go over the Cliff's Notes, we talked about, you know, the furry fandom is much more than kink culture. It's not a kink culture. It's more an art movement. We talked a little bit about fursuits, and in particular kimono fursuits. We talked about how mean kids are. We also talked about my characters, who they were, where they come from, and what part of the city of Fruitiger they live in. We talked about the city of Fruitiger itself. And yeah. And then we also talked about 13th year and my husband. In the next video, we're going to be going over Club Penguin. Y'all don't know how excited I am for this stuff. I've had this in me forever. I've been keeping this in me for forever. I just decided today, you know what? I'm gonna put up my streaming stuff again. I'm gonna reconfigure everything and start making videos again. Hopefully at some point I'll start streaming again too, but right now I'm gonna focus just on videos and stuff, just because it's a little bit easier for me to kind of know when I want to do a video and when I don't want to do a video, versus when I'm scheduled to stream and when I'm not scheduled to stream and I don't feel like it and stuff like that, instead of just doing like a streaming schedule, because my current schedule right now is very kind of all over the place, whereas with videos I can just pop one out like that. But I'm very excited to talk about Club Penguin next week, or whenever I get to it. There's a lot to it, including some videos, some never before seen videos of me playing Club Penguin. My very first YouTube videos were on Club Penguin. So we'll be going over those. We'll be going over that my character and stuff, and yeah, I will see you another time, another day, another hour, hopefully sometime soon. Bye.